Hey everybody, it's Jimmy. So today what we're going to talk about is something interesting. So I did an inspection and the seller of the home was there, and what he told me was he's selling it and he's moving into a tiny home. I'm talking about like 400 square feet. He's going from 3,200 square feet to 400. So I found that interesting. So what I'm going to do today is talk about some pros and cons of living in a tiny home. Oh, by the way, I am filming from my boat today, so I'm not going to be walking as usual, but go ahead and check out the water. And do me a favor, give it a thumbs up and subscribe, because I'm trying to build up, I'll be honest with you guys, I'm just trying to build up subscribers so I get my message out more. I greatly appreciate it. So let's start benefits and disadvantages of tiny homes. Let's go for it. All right, so let's talk about the first benefit. It's cheaper. With today's prices and everything going on, people are looking for solutions, and some people just don't want to pay rents. They don't want to pay mortgages with a high interest rate. What's better is, if you don't need the space and you're traveling a lot, why not get a tiny home and put it on your own piece of land and save a lot of money, because tiny homes are a lot cheaper than a regular built house. So that's the first one. All right, another advantage of tiny homes. Basically, you can pretty much run the tiny home on a solar panel, because if the average tiny home is like, say, 400 square feet, you can't beat it. It won't cost you a lot to run the tiny home and run everything in it. So maybe you can just hook up a solar panel and take care of it too. And makes life a lot easier when it comes to the cost of energy. All right, pro number 3. I like this one. Basically, it's easier to maintain. If you need a roof, you can probably do it yourself. That's how easy it is to maintain. You know, windows, very few windows, so the maintenance on a tiny home is really not that much. You have a leak, a plumbing leak, you know, you'll be able to find it pretty fast. So maintenance is another big thing that's very inexpensive on tiny homes. And if you want to paint the home, paint it every 6 months if you want. That's how easy it is to maintain. All right. Here's a good advantage of a tiny home. Say you have it, you're living in it, you're happy with the home, but you're not happy with the location. You can just move the house, move your tiny home to wherever you want. Buy a piece of land in a different state, buy it in a different location, and now you could just move it. So you'll always have your home with you. So that's a big advantage. It's not like you can move a regular house to a new location. You would have to sell it, but a tiny home, you don't. You just sell the land. So think about that one. All right, here's another one. Simpler lifestyle. How simple could you get that? You want to leave for a couple of days, you could just turn one knob, shut off all the water to the place. I'm not saying you can't do that with a house either, but just close the door and leave. So it's just a simple lifestyle. You're not buying a bunch of stuff, collecting a bunch of stuff that you really don't need, and just spending money. Because if you're gonna go buy something and you're gonna think twice about it, saying, hey, can I have a place to put this anywhere? So that's another benefit. Simpler lifestyle. If you like the simple lifestyle, like a minimalist, how could you be at a tiny home? Like, let's talk about all the cons too. One of the biggest cons is limited space. If you do want to buy something, you got to really think about it. Do you have any place to put it? Say you see a nice 55-inch, 60-inch TV for sale, and you're like, hey, I want that TV. But you may not have a place to put it. So keep that in mind. Another problem could be you have company coming and you don't know where they're going to sleep because it's a tiny home. You're like 400 square feet. That's another problem. So limited space is a issue. Okay, here's another con. Zoning. Zoning is a big issue when it comes to tiny homes because a lot of areas in the country require a minimum square footage. And since a tiny home is so small, you might not be zoned, so you have to find a tiny home community or land that the zoning will allow you to put a tiny home on there. So before you go out and say, okay, I got a piece of land and I'm gonna go buy a tiny home and put it on there, find out the local laws if you're allowed to even have a tiny home, because from what I'm finding out, a lot of areas do not allow tiny homes. I hope that changes in the future, because with everything so expensive, people just can't afford these big houses, and a tiny home is a great alternative to renting or buying a big house. So check out the zoning laws. Here's another con when it comes to tiny homes: resale value. From what everything I read, resale is not as good as a traditional house. So if you think that you're going to buy a tiny home and sell it for more money, maybe the land will increase in value, but I'm not sure about the tiny home, because the resale value on some tiny homes are dropping because they're so inexpensive compared to traditional houses. Why would somebody want to buy a used tiny home unless it's already set up on land with a well, septic system, things like that? Then it makes sense. But if you're just selling the tiny home by itself, you're probably going to lose a little bit of money, because it's just as easy to buy a brand new one the way they want it. So overall, this person is going from a huge house that I spoke to, my client I was telling you about. Well, not really my client, because he was a seller. I was there for the buyer, but he was telling me he was going to a tiny home. For him, it made sense. His wife, I guess, passed away, and it's just him by himself. He wants to travel a little bit, so the best thing for him is to simplify his life. So if you want to simplify your life, and what better way to do it than a tiny home? Like him, he's going to sell the house. He's going to make a big profit on the house. He's going to buy a tiny home on a piece of land because he doesn't want to rent the land. He doesn't want to rent a house, apartment. He doesn't want to buy a traditional house. He doesn't want the maintenance. He just wants a simple life that he could close up, because what he told me was he wants to travel a lot and he doesn't want to worry about the house and, you know, what's going on and maintenance and things like that. And he says the taxes are so much cheaper, and, you know, compared to a regular house. So for him, it makes sense. For you, it may make sense to say, you know what, I'm not renting, I'm not paying $1,000, $2,000. Comment below what you guys are paying for rents and mortgages. I'm just curious. But he doesn't want to do that stuff anymore, and he's not that old. He's like 62, 63, so good for him. So he's putting a tiny home on a piece of property, and he's going to jump on a cruise ship and go enjoy himself. Hey, listen, that's today's video. Like always, please do me a favor, subscribe, hit the bell notification so you're notified next time I upload a video, and I'll catch you on the next video. Appreciate it, and enjoy the golf if you're near it. Beautiful day out today. Talk to you later. Bye.